others have. It slowly go by. Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh. I know they love you. Teach your children well. I know they love you.
The South Pacific. Lagoons that hint at paradise. Magnificent coral reefs that tease and delight the dreaming corners of our minds. This is the world as we wish it could always be. In this great carnival of life, thousands of colorful characters coexist. Diversity strengthens a coral reef. The more species, the more survival systems. Coral reefs have been going strong for 60 million years. Some corals sway like flowers in a breeze. Others masquerade as stones. But all corals are animals. These underwater playgrounds are built by hard corals, which produce limestone and turn it into homes. Stacked one on top of the other, millions of coral homes gradually form a gigantic reef. How wonderful that the largest living structures on Earth are built by tiny animals. Coral reefs protect nearly all tropical coasts, standing between islanders' homes and violent seas. When we're injured, doctors use calcium carbonate from coral to mend our broken bones. When we're sick, chemical compounds from the reef may restore our health. No place on Earth holds greater potential for medical cures. Reefs feed us. Over 300 million people rely on fish from reefs.
For Pacific Islanders like me, our coral reefs are as necessary as the air we breathe.
Rusi vula coral, a native of Fiji, has always lived close to the sea.
For centuries, my ancestors were careful not to overfish, so our reef was healthy. But this year, something happened. Something terrible. A blanket of death settled over the reef. What was killing our reef? I made up my mind to find some answers. I decided to reach out to some of my dive partners around the world.
Howard and Michelle Hall have spent 30 years exploring and filming reefs. Their underwater photography is world-renowned. When Howard and Michelle got Rusi's message, they were in the mountains, far from the reefs they love.
All during that flight, I kept wondering what we could do to help Rusi. Then I realized that our friend Richard Pyle might know what to do. He's a marine biologist.
All across the world, really. The Red Sea, East Africa, the Maldives, Philippines. We're seeing these kinds of problems showing up at unprecedented rates.
Richard showed us how coral reefs are dying at an alarming rate all around the world.
You also get changes in temperature as you go.
Ocean warming is the major cause. Richard urged us to document the coral reefs on film for science before they disappear. We knew that the IMAX camera, with its incredible clarity, was the best way to do this.
Open it all the way up to F28.
Our mission was clear.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much for your help.
Bring back images that would give scientists insights into why Rusi's reef was dying. We needed to compare Rusi's reef to other reefs all across the South Pacific, starting with the largest of them all, the Great Barrier Reef. The prospect of diving coral reefs all across the South Pacific was a bit like a dream come true. We would make hundreds of dives, and some of these would be deeper and more dangerous than anything we've done before. It would be our most important expedition in our 30 years of diving together.
Parts of the Great Barrier Reef have been protected from overfishing for 2 decades. The first goal of this 10-month expedition was to see how well that protection really worked.
When I first dove here 22 years ago, these giant clams were not here. They'd been long fished out by commercial fishermen. Today, we've seen 12 giant clams, and that's a great sign. That means that this reef is bouncing back. A local marine biologist named Tracy Medway led us to the giant potato cod. They're called potato cod because they have these splotchy, potato-shaped markings on their sides.
Throughout most of the South Pacific, the really large fish have been wiped out by fishermen. Potato cod thrive here only because of the laws that protect them.
These vegetarian convict tanks protect the reef, nibbling away seaweeds that smother corals. If too many of these kinds of fish are removed, corals will die. That's why overfishing destroys reefs.
We often don't realize how 2 species benefit each other until one of them disappears.
Just as fish protect the reef, coral offers homes and hiding places for the fish. Anything from a simple shack to a custom dream home.
I light the fire. You place the flowers in the vase that you bought today.
Gobies often share a home with bulldozer shrimp. Whenever he ventures out of the burrow, the shrimp keeps at least one antenna on the goby. The goby gets an impeccable burrow to live in without lifting a fin, and the very nearsighted shrimp gets a bodyguard. With the flick of its tail, the goby warns the shrimp of approaching predators.
Our house is a very, very, very house with two cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you. I'll light the fire while you place the flowers in the vase of the boy.
This 100-year-old coral makes a nice dentist's office for potato cod. A small fish, a cleaner wrasse, swims right into the cod's mouth to feed on parasites.
The cod gets groomed, and the wrasse gets dinner. Partnerships like this seem to require mutual trust. Lots of trust. Kat Holloway, a coral researcher, joined Michelle to study interspecies communication.
So we change partners. Time to change partners. We must change partners.
I was afraid I was going to inhale and maybe swallow it, but I didn't. It just tickled and pinched a little bit. I've studied animal behavior for so many years. This was different. This was a chance for me to actually be part of it.
Cooperation between species sustains life here, but sometimes it's almost invisible.
The coral's most important partners are tiny microscopic algae that actually live inside the coral animal's tissues.
This is the brain coral, right?
These helper algae use sunlight to produce sugar, the primary food source that gives corals the energy to build reefs.
Most corals cannot survive without helper algae, but worldwide, abnormally warm seawater threatens this partnership.
Time-lapse photography can show us how, in just 1 week, a change of 2 degrees centigrade drives the algae out. Without its main food source, the coral bleaches a ghostly white. If the algae don't return, the coral starves.
Here in Australia, we went to some places that we'd been to 20 years before, and I was surprised to see that some of the reefs are so damaged because of ocean warming.
Our Australian survey gave us a baseline for understanding what was going wrong at Rousey's Reef, 2,000 miles away in Fiji.
Got out of town on a boat from Southern sailing the reef before a following sea. She was making